Hi everyone, my name's Kyle. This is going to be a blending of two different series I do. The one is on financial advice or market trends that are happening in the world, and the other one is my teaching of yoga. However, it's not the typical hatha yoga that people will practice or yin yoga. This is more karma yoga or bhakti yoga. So, we're going to start off with what's a business? So historically, people were really agrarian peasants, hunter gatherers as society started. But over time, we started having it's called stair step evolution in society, where we started learning how to irrigate crops, take care of cattle, create financial systems by, in the first place, creating money, which has a few requirements that needs to be satisfied, but it has to have a set unit of account, store of value, and it's basically used to represent what you have. And the issue is that over time, we've really kind of started to see money as something that it's not, because money has no intrinsic value, or the government money, the physical bills that we carry around right now, it has no intrinsic value. You do not want a dollar for the sake of a dollar. You want a dollar because you can use it on different things. As the Wolf of Wall Street says, he calls $100 bill fun coupons. And that's really kind of how we treat money at this point in our lives. Is I've met lots of people who would effectively sell their soul just to get more money, but not to live better. And it's a very subtle difference. So as people make more money, there's two things that can happen. The one is called the substitution effect, and the other one is called the income effect. And the substitution effect basically says that if you're given more money, and this takes wage as a function of an entire country, not as an individual. So please understand I'm explaining a macroeconomic concept, not a microeconomic concept, before the comment section fills up with someone trying to talk to me about this. Is that if you're given more money, you'll say, you know what, I'm going to make the same amount as I did before, but I'm going to have more time for leisure. And then there's also the income effect, which says, hey, if I can make more money, I'm going to work more. Now, typically, men as a whole experience the substitution effect. So when wage increases in a society, typically the men work less hours, which you can see over time since the 1920s. As wages increased, the population of working men has stayed about the same, but the population of working women has increased, and this is in part one of the reasons, not all of them. And then women typically experience this income effect where they work more hours. So because of this, what's ended up happening is we were raised in this thing in the 1950s. It was referred to as the cult of domesticity, excuse me, where basically the whole idea was two cars in every garage, a house, happy wife, two children, green lawn, those types of values. And as women started to enter the workforce, they stopped doing the things that were keeping them at home, which would be cooking and cleaning. And those are considered non-market activities for the sake of this conversation, purely on an economic level, before I get back to the spiritual aspect. Because, your options really are work and leisure, and those are the models that we base them off of, because that's kind of how we view the world. You're either working or doing what you want, but there's non-market activity, which would be things you have to do, not because it's fun, but just it's a requisite of being alive. So because women are entering the workforce at a higher ratio due to the increase in wage based on the income effect, which does not affect everyone as a whole. That would be silly of me to try to say that, but this is an aggregate function of society. And what ends up happening is when women are working more, there's less people at home doing the non-market activity, which would be cooking and cleaning, which has then ended up putting us in a place where, if you're at work and you come home and no one's made anything, you're going to go out to eat. And when people go out to eat, they gain weight. When they gain weight, they become obese. And when they become obese, they become diabetic. There's other issues, high blood pressure, hypertension. All of that is related to this exact function that society does. So effectively, what I'm saying here in this argument is that if you increase the wage of a country, of a group of people, it's going to give them disease, which means the money has poisoned you. And if you don't want to look at this as a function over time, look at this as a function of society, because the poorer countries don't have these issues with obesity and people being extremely overweight and disadvantaging their own life in that scenario. So, because we've already used this argument to basically say that money is not the point, this brings us to where we are with businesses, because people have these constructs where you have to work very, very hard, or at least this is the American mindset, which is you work very hard and put all you have, my cat's trying to come into the room, to the business that you're working. And when it does this, here you go, cat. When you start trying to focus on making more money because you see that as the name of the game, you end up losing this value in marketing, which is where the whole point of a business is to provide a good or a service that betters society. But if your only focus is on shareholder profits or your operating profit or making more money, then you have given up your humanity, and all you have focused on is this game that does not exist, that ultimately does poison you. So I'm not saying give up your life and have nothing, because, basically, when the Buddha reached enlightenment, he really kind of swore off asceticism as part of the things he did starting the Wheel of Dharma. And you're not to just go out there and have nothing. I mean, you're more than welcome to, and there's some people who are always going to live in opulence. These two parallels will always exist. But as the whole, we're trying to move the middle ground into a more collective space that's inclusive for everyone instead of very fragmented. So with this goal and the business that you're running, or the job that you work, or the thing that you do that helps flourish society, your goal should not be profits. It should be benefiting everyone. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment. Please leave a comment if you have any questions, things you liked about this video, things you'd like me to talk about. I appreciate you watching this. I love you. Have a great day.